In my work as a therapist, I rely really heavily on the principles of the Dharma that we talk about and practice together here. This is an insight meditation group, or Vipassana. Vipassana means insight in Pali, the language that the Buddha taught in. So not surprisingly, I am particularly interested in creating the conditions in therapy that lead to insight. And that can be really annoying for my clients, who are usually looking for something they can do to change. And I understand that. And I try to work with it. And I will often ask people, what do you think you can do to change it? Sometimes they want to change other people or conditions or their habits. And I ask, okay, if we're trying to change that, what tactics can we use? And the suggestions that they offer me are often just like painfully familiar. They'll say something like, well, I'm going to explain to her that what she's doing is harmful in a way that is so clear that she will stop. Or I'm going to set up this plan that if everybody follows it, we just won't have these problems anymore. Or I'm going to have enough discipline that I make sure that I don't do the thing I don't want to do anymore. And I think any experienced meditator will be very familiar with this kind of thought, or thoughts that are rooted in these kinds of ideas. You're sitting there watching your breath, and before you know it, you're revising and revising the perfect thing to say to somebody that will make them change. Or you're sitting and then you find out you have found the perfect plan to make things different. Or is this just me? Okay, thank you. These are the kinds of things that feel like they should work. They should bring change. And so when my client suggests this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I try to take my response directly from the Buddha. There's a great phrase in the sutras that the Buddha uses a lot. Again, in Pali, Ehipassiko. Ehipassiko. It means see for yourself. Try it out. Throughout the sutras, the Buddha encourages people never to take on ideas just because the Buddha says them, but to try it out for themselves. He constantly encourages seekers to test the Dharma against their personal experience. Centuries before the development of the scientific method, the Buddha advocated and designed a kind of empirical psychology. And so when one of my clients has an idea, I will find the perfect words to explain to him that he shouldn't do that. My response when I'm being good is, Ehipassiko, try it out. And when I say that, my clients often think that I am trolling them because it sounds sarcastic. Try it out, even though I don't really mean it that way. And the reason it sounds sarcastic to them is because on some level, they know that it's not going to work. If it worked, they wouldn't be bringing it to me in therapy. If telling people how they should behave, or if disciplining ourselves harder led to change, we would just do those things. We want it to work that way. We believe that it should. But, and this is from my experience, it usually doesn't. This is the very definition of dukkha, suffering. The suffering that comes from wanting things to be different from how they actually are. And since Americans tend to be kind of a polar people, the assumption that if I'm not going to change things in people, I guess I just have to suffer through things the way that they are, is a natural conclusion. This is a common American criticism of Buddhism, that it's too passive. Because in dualistic thinking, if I am not the agent in all things, I am the agent in no things. Which Buddhism definitely does not say. There are not 17,000 sutras just saying, nothing to be done. What the sutras do teach is Ehipassiko, see for yourself. So in a way, maybe I'm being a little cheeky when I encourage clients to try it out, but I'm also pointing to the fact that we both know that we've tried this and that it doesn't get the desired outcome. And I am painfully sympathetic to the fact that sometimes we have to try it out to really see that it doesn't work. And sometimes we have to try it out like a few times. This is part of what makes it hard to be a therapist, or a parent, or an older sibling, or a friend, or honestly, just like hard to be ourselves. Sometimes we have to try it out a bunch of times before we can let go of our story. But once the false narrative and the unhelpful plan are out of the way, we get to the good stuff. We can get curious about what is actually here. Well, like, I think that's the good stuff. I enjoy that. This week, a client said to me, I get that we're trying to see things clearly, but what for? So I see it clearly, so what? What good is that? Some of you guys who have been here a while know that I was sick a couple of weeks ago. I have this problem a lot where I get, I'm pausing right now because I wrote this talk not knowing that there would be a bunch of like new people here today. And now I'm about to be kind of gross and weird, but it's too late because I already wrote it. So welcome, I guess. But I have this problem where I get laryngitis and a sore throat and I get really bad breath. When I came in today and everyone was kind of sitting towards, or when like we started, everyone was sitting towards the back, I was like, oh no. I have such bad breath that the meditators can smell it. But I think it's actually just that Mira's not here and she usually sits in the front. Anyway, whatever. You guys farted all over the retreat.
So did you.
I did. It's true. Anyway, I have this problem where I get sick and I get a sore throat and my breath stinks. And it's because I don't take good care of my teeth. And when I tell you, I invest in so many flossing products, like mouthwashes and super toothpaste that comes from Japan. And like finally, I broke down a year ago and I went to the dentist and I told the dentist something is really wrong with my teeth. Like something terrible is happening in my mouth and I get these awful sore throats and I get laryngitis. And I said, I think my teeth are rotting. And the dentist looked in my mouth and said it was fine and recommended that I use mouthwash. And like, I had already tried those and I was really pissed at the dentist. And I have been trapped in suffering for years, not just because I get sick, but because I can't get the dentist, stupid dentist, to believe that this is happening to me. And I was complaining about this to Em last week, and she said, that sounds like acid reflux, which I was not familiar with. But as it turns out, common symptoms are laryngitis, sore throat, and bad breath. You guys are nodding because you do. Took me a minute to find it out. The call was coming from inside my esophagus. So I don't know how or where I got or invented the idea that the problem was dental hygiene, but I was like very seriously devoted to that story. And because I was so devoted to that story, I invested a lot financially and emotionally in solutions that had no bearing on my problem. No impact, no effect. Evidence was telling me that what I was doing wasn't helping, but I was so caught in that story, I couldn't do and didn't do anything else. And it's like that, isn't it? The Dharma doesn't tell us, give up on solving your problems. It says, see clearly where the suffering is coming from so that you can respond in a way that actually helps. I may be devoted to the story that my suffering comes from the fact that my sister drinks too much. And if I'm stuck in that story, the only solution is for me to get her to stop drinking. And that the only way to do that is to find just the right words to show her how harmful it is. And I might use my meditation time to perfect that argument. But the Dharma, the practice of Ehipassiko, reminds me to investigate my story at every level. Will telling her actually get her to change? Try it out. Is trying to convince her the only way to change things? Try it out. Is her drinking the actual cause of my suffering? See for yourself. Ehipassiko. Ehipassiko. And we come here and we practice and we're not distracted. This is what we're practicing. What is actually here? What is it actually like? On a much more manageable scale. I'm sitting here. The story is that I can't concentrate on my breath because I have ADHD, and the story is that I'm supposed to be concentrating on my breath, and the story is that if I push myself hard enough, I'll be able to concentrate on my breath, and the story is that if I push myself hard enough to concentrate on my breath, I won't be anxious anymore. Ehipassiko, try it out. Are any of those stories true? Are any of them useful? Are any of them causing suffering? Are any of them leading to freedom? Our sits are little laboratories to answer these questions. All right, let's go back to the lab for a minute. We'll sit for a few.